All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm so excited to be here today and to have Jess Sims and Liz Altoff on with us. My name is Emily Garner. I'm the head women's basketball coach at Trinity. And what better day to be doing this than National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. So I am thrilled to be here. Jess Sims has been an athlete and leader her whole life. As a 3-year captain of the women's basketball team at Trinity, she motivated others through her own actions, leading her to amazing places off the court. Jess began her professional career as a school teacher who fearlessly opened new schools in underserved neighborhoods in Boston and New York City. After years in academics, Jess realized she was missing her athletic roots and decided to leave school teaching to go back to the subject she is most passionate about, which is fitness. At Peloton, Jess teaches a wide range of fitness content, including running, walking, boot camp, strength, and stretching. And Jess also launched Peloton's Fit Family content for kids 5 and older, blending her passions for health and wellness through interactive movement and education. And having done one of your workouts this morning, I certainly know that glazed donut effect. So thank you so much, Jess. We are so happy to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me, Emily. This is an honor. Like, even just hearing you say all those things, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that feels like eons ago. So wow, it's wild. And 10 years since being at Trinity. Who knew? 11 soon.
I've stopped counting as well. So I'm right there with you. And doing the interview today will be Liz Altoff. Liz is a junior co-captain for us here. She's a psychology major. She's minoring in math and writing and rhetoric, and from Staten Island, New York. So she is going to take this over, and we are so excited to get this going. So thank you both so much. Welcome and enjoy.
Yay. So nice to be here, Liz. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Similar to Coach, I just want to thank you so much for being here today. Personally, I'm so excited to get to know you better. And considering you've been in my shoes, and to see how successful you've been throughout your career is so inspiring and makes me so hopeful for my future. So I would love to ask you some questions.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is everything. Please ask away.
I know this year has been anything but ordinary, and the pandemic has halted a lot of fitness routines for all of us. So how have you kept your Peloton clients motivated during these tough times?
So I think the thing that's helped me motivate our members at Peloton is definitely talking about this as movement as self-care, movement as medicine. And when we frame it as something that we get to do because we have an able body, we can create the time. No one has the time. You have to create the time. You start to realize this is not a chore. This is not something that you have to do. It shouldn't be on your to-do list. It should be on your get-to-do list. And the other big thing that fitness has always done for me is help me mentally get through tough things. And so I always say in classes, when we are working out, we are physically practicing doing hard things. And that's a transferable skill that then you can apply to your personal life and your professional life. So really by working out, you're getting the physical benefits, the emotional benefits, the mental benefits, and it's also so social. I think in the past year, we can all say, even if our house is packed, if we live with a big crew of people, or if we live by ourselves with our dog, like I do, it can feel really lonely at times. And Peloton, the number one thing that's like my favorite thing about Peloton, and there's a lot, is the community. And so really building off of other people, getting motivated based off of what other people are doing, and them, putting their hand on your back, them clapping it up in class. So that's where I motivate members, but then they motivate me right back. It's a two-way street.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's sometimes convenient just when you're in that mindset to maybe take the easy way out. So definitely having you and the community to kind of boost you up, definitely, and give you that extra boost is great.
Yeah.
Definitely, not only do you motivate others, but for yourself, how do you stay motivated and what inspires you to do what you do?
Yeah, so I just touched on it a little bit in terms of what inspires me. It's the members. The members inspire me. It's funny. I was just telling someone the other day that even on a day off, I'll wake up and I'll open up my Instagram and check my DMs. And I'm like, thinking before, I'm like, I'm not going to work out today. I'm just going to just stretch or something. And then I'm tagged in 50, 60, 70, 100 workouts before 9 a.m., before I've even had my coffee. And I'm like, damn, okay, like this is what we're doing today. Okay, let's do this. And I'm like, wow, I'm really inspired by our members' stories. So on my toughest days, I really draw on the members. For my own personal workouts. And even when I'm teaching a class, like one of the biggest myths is that all instructors, Peloton or not, we're always motivated. We always want to work out. And like, that's a lie. Like that's a complete lie. But the trick is, one, we have learned the discipline of showing up even when we don't want to, showing up when things are hard. And then just also realizing again that it's a privilege. So when you shift your mindset like that, everything else changes.
Yeah, definitely. And I also saw on your Instagram about your mantra wall, which I think is so awesome. And I love that and definitely want to try and integrate it into my life too. So I think that's
Yeah,
great.
well, it's funny that you say that. I'm staring at it right now. It's like right behind the computer. And yeah, it's just the one thing that we're talking about right now that is really timely is I can do one small thing to shift the day. I feel like since we're always at home in New York City, we have, smaller apartments and smaller living spaces, and we can be stuck. We'll stay on the couch all day. We'll be like, oh my gosh, did I even get up today? A lot of my friends that don't have dogs, they're like, I haven't been outside in 3 days. And so if you think about one small thing, doing one thing, opening up a window, lighting a candle, taking a bath, calling a friend, one small thing can completely shift your day.
Yeah, definitely. That mindset is so important. Moving on, I read that your father has inspired your health and wellness journey. So could you share how he had encouraged your fitness lifestyle?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So my dad, it's kind of like this unspoken thing. I've been trying to rack my brain about like, was there a moment where I was like, I want to work out or I want to play basketball? Or it just naturally happened. And I think my dad and I know my dad and I share this workhorse kind of mentality. We love helping others and we also love doing the dirty work. So boxing out, diving on the floor for a loose ball, taking the offensive foul. Those are all the things that, sure, those are not the things that, the reporters are going to say, oh, this person they're always going to talk about the steals, the rebounds, the points. But I never really cared about that. Like, sure, that's nice and everything, but who's going to do the dirty work? And so I got that definitely from my dad. My dad played basketball at Framingham State. And my dad also went to the same high school as me in Peabody, Massachusetts, and he still holds records there. And so it was just really cool to see our relationship over time just grow through the trust that we have fostered through the sport of basketball. He only coached one team. He was my assistant coach. I think it was in 6th grade, but otherwise he was just my biggest cheerleader on the sideline. And he built out like a small little basketball court in my backyard, and we used to just go back outside and just shoot around, talk about specific things, talk about life, not talk about life, just focus on basketball. And yeah, and then when I went to Trinity, oh my gosh, we could talk about my dad for like years. My father he just retired probably about 6 years ago now. He was the sergeant of the Peabody Police Department. And so he worked the night shifts. And then during the day, he owned his own painting business. So my dad was working like 16-hour days, and he never missed a Trinity game. He only missed one, but there was a very good reason for that. But he never missed a game. And he would drive straight from work, from painting, stop at ABC Pizza. Does ABC Pizza still exist?
I think so. I think it's right down the block from my house, actually.
Yes. My dad would go there. He would eat his pizza. He'd have his dinner, and then he'd come to the gym. And then he would stay and talk to me after the game, give me feedback, give me a hug, just show that support, that love. And then he'd go straight home and go straight into work and work the night shift.
It's actually so funny how similar like my dad owns his painting company. He drives after work to every game, went to the same high school as me, played there too. So definitely it's kind of crazy how much overlap there was, but it's always nice to have that extra support and just like seeing them in the stands or like knowing that they love what you do too is so important. So that's
Yes.
so great to hear.
Oh, that's so cool about your dad.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I know.
Going into your background a little, actually, how does working for Peloton tap into your life as a professional athlete and your past as an educator?
Oh, so much. One of the number one questions that I get is, do you miss teaching? And my answer is no, because I'm still teaching. of course I miss the kids and the families, but I'm teaching a subject that I'm so passionate about. And so it translates exactly over. And it's funny because one of our biggest groups of people, we have the hashtags for Peloton. One of the biggest hashtags is Peloton teachers. And once everyone started realizing that I was a teacher, they're like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. Now the things that you say in class are very teachery. And I have that teacher look and the teacher voice. And I really try to be supportive in class, but also, and give very explicit directions, because your screen might be small. You might not be able to see your screen from where you are. You might just be doing like listening to me in your headphones. You might only be able to see me, but not be able to listen to me. So I really tried to really home in on my technique and also economy of language. So saying things, because we all have short attention spans. You can't go on a huge monologue about something. You got to give the points to get them in the move. And then once they're in that movement, then you can, add on, do the modifications, things like that. So there's so much overlap between teaching and being a Peloton instructor for sure.
Yeah, it's so cool to see how you navigated through your careers and how you use each aspect of your life in what you do now. So that's great. I think this was coming from some people. They were wondering, how did you come up with the glazed donut expression for getting a sweat going?
Okay, usually I have a good story for things like this. I don't have a good story, y'all. Everything to me is food related. Everything is food related. So I was just running on the tread and I said, "Ooh, like I'm shining. I look like a glazed donut right now." And I never in a million years, Liz, would have ever thought that that would be my tagline at Peloton. It just resonated with people so much. I guess everyone loves a glazed donut and everyone knows exactly what that looks like. And so, and it's also a physical thing. So you can say like, oh, wow, oh my gosh, I'm reaching the glazed donut look right now. So I said it randomly once and it just stuck.
I love that. You gotta turn something like working out into something you love. So
Yes.
fine. Everyone
Always
loves a good
about
donut.
food. Yeah.
So for you, what is your favorite Peloton class to teach?
Woo! So, oh man, Saturday 60. For so many reasons. I was going to say Flash 15, I also really love. But the Saturday 60, the reason why I love it hands down the most is because it reminds me of being on the basketball court, being on a team, because a 60-minute boot camp is hard. And the way that I structure it for anyone that has never taken it, it's 6 10-minute workouts. So you work super hard and then your recovery is basically your transition to and from the tread. And so it's so hard. There's ups, there's downs. There's sometimes you're feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so great, I got this. And other times you feel like you're being crushed. And you do it with the community. So when I first started teaching the Saturday 60 I think it's been about 2 years now. And it's evolved a little bit. Because at first, oh my gosh, they used to be 60-minute runs. Never again. Never again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally not for me anymore. But I remember there being like 25 people on the leaderboard. And now this past Saturday was almost 4,000
Wow.
live.
Okay.
And so like when I say like clap it up, like that's like a huge thing that I always say, it's in class. Think about, I'm sure right now you can talk to this. Do y'all still clap it up for each other when coach is making you do sprints or challenging you to, make 10 layups in a row, which seems so easy, but then you get that mental challenge and you're like, wait, 10? Oh my gosh, this is so hard. I hope I'm not the 10th person.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely. I think right now during basketball, we're kind of missing the crowd, but knowing like with Peloton, you could still have that community, have people who have your back cheering you on is so nice to have.
Big time. Yeah. And we usually have like before the pandemic, of course, like people in the studio. And I definitely miss that for sure. Cause that's like the, face to face.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to see leaderboard names and people are using emojis to celebrate. They'll say like 50th boot camp, exclamation point, like smiley face, all this. And then they say funny things like, the curse out crew. Like there's a group of people out there that call themselves the curse out crew and they make it because they curse me out every class. And so it always, the leaderboard is so interactive and so great.
Yeah, that's so great. It's the little things right now that make it all worth it, which is great. Transitioning a little bit to your time at Trinity. I know you were a captain of the women's basketball team. What type of lessons did you learn from your time as a college athlete?
Whew. So I'll answer some overlap, but things I learned as just a college athlete versus a captain. There's some overlap, but I can talk about like the differences. So as an athlete, the necessity of sacrifice, and I'm sure you know, as a junior, people always ask me, why do you hate Halloween? And I'm like, because November 1st was testing day. And while everyone was going out dressing up in these costumes, I was eating pasta and in bed by 7:30. So like there was so much sacrifice, so many of my friends calling me unfun and this and that, but I wouldn't have changed a thing because all good things require some sort of sacrifice, and things you love require sacrifice. So that's one thing. The second thing, importance of community, importance of team. Like this, I had one of these for Trinity, and it said Trinity right here. And the importance of that and the sense of pride that I get from wearing the name of my team on my chest, on my back, on my arm is huge, which is Peloton, right? So sacrifice, importance of team and community, love of movement. I realized that movement, even if it's not basketball, even if it's just shooting around, it's not, the competitive aspect of competing in a game. Movement is medicine, and I need it for my mental health. So not taking, running for granted. I think that so many of us were like, oh gosh, sprints, we don't want to do those lines, 15, 6-4-6s, all those. I still remember them clearly. I have a little
greens.
Yes, will always be ingrained in my mind. But all those things, looking back, it's all a privilege. So that is really, really big. And then some overlap into like being a captain. I know effort is more valuable than talent. I think hard work and heart and hustle outbeats talent. Of course, the two of them together is the ultimate, but there's nothing better than having teammates that just work hard and want it. Because you can't teach that. It's not really, you either love the game and if you lose, you get back in the gym the next day, or most importantly, like if your teammate had a really off game, they were shooting 10%, ask them, do you want me to rebound for you tomorrow? And like putting yourself, I hate to say don't put yourself first, because you should, like self-care, yes, but also as a captain, you do need to put your teammates up and elevate them so that they can feel supported and they can, have success. And I think also as a captain, humility. I was a captain as a sophomore, and my teammates were older than me. They had been on the team for years more. And I think that if I walked in there and said like, I know everything, or like, listen to me, I was the listener, especially my sophomore year, to listen to my team, what grievances they had, what things that we could do better, and be that bridge with our coach at the time. So I think that it was better as a leader to say, I don't know, and I'm going to listen, or I'm going to find out, than try to just like impart this knowledge that I'm still working on myself. So I think that those are like the main lessons that I learned as both a college athlete and a captain.
Yeah, those are all so valuable, and our team really stands by all of that. And hearing you say all those things, like standing here as a captain, that's something that I try to encompass. And I think it's lessons you could put into your everyday life too. And now you get to be a captain of the Peloton community.
Yes. See, now you're talking my language. Yes. These are the transferable skills. Like, yes, I double majored in psychology and Hispanic studies at Trinity, but that's not what I am like. The transferable skills of how to study for those classes and how to get those internships and how to speak up for myself and all of that. Those are the transferable skills that no matter what you decide to do will bring you success.
Yeah, that's so valuable. Love that. So moving on a little, how has your sense of what constitutes being like fit evolved since college?
Okay, this is what I wish someone told me 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago. No one helps you reformulate your identity after college sports. Point blank, period. And we went from doing 2-3 days to having completely unstructured time. And so I had stuck in my mind that if I didn't have 2 hours to go work out at the gym, I wasn't going to work out. I was just like, oh, if I don't have a full hour, I'm not going to work out, just because for me, I used to spend hours at the gym. So it didn't make any sense to me to even try to fit in a workout. But less is more, and consistency is better than intensity. So instead of crushing yourself at the gym for an hour or more in a day and then not working out for 2 days, it's okay to do 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and just make the most of the time there. So I think that for me, that was a huge shift, big time, because being fit is just about the consistency of it. And then also incorporating the cardio and strength, because you need both.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's hard because in college you have such a schedule and structure. And then, I mean, now even in the pandemic, not really at school, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. But I think just fitting it into what works for you is really valuable, like you said, and just finding that consistency.
Absolutely.
What advice would you give students about following their dreams and finding the right fit professionally?
Following dreams, and be careful of shoulds. I feel like we should on ourselves all the time. Since I studied this, I should pursue this after college. Since my parents told me that I should do this, and I'm going to do that after. Take some time to just be with yourself, whether that's meditation, yoga, maybe while you're lifting weights, and really figure out what it is that you're passionate about. What would you do if money was not an issue that you would just do to fill your time because you love it so much? And work for it. Nothing is going to come easy. Network with people, always put yourself out there, always be gracious for people for giving time and energy. Reach out and ask, hey, can I pick your brain about something? You have a job that I could see myself doing in a few years. Be patient. I left education when I was 27. And I was in education for 6 years, and it was very easy. I was already a principal of a school. So in my head, I was thinking, well, I would be crazy to leave this because I've worked so hard. I've already come up so much and in so many ways, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. And so if I got stuck in the shoulds, then I would have completely stayed in education, and I wouldn't have started to fulfill my greater purpose, which I now know is to help people live happier, healthier lives and become better, stronger versions of themselves. So those are definite things that I would say. Be honest with yourself. That's another thing, is before you say, I want to do this, you need to assess where you are now. What skills do I have, or what skills do I need to develop? My mindset, what's my mindset now? Who has the job that I want right now, and what are they doing? So like, you have to be a student of whatever you are looking to do, as you get older. And last but not least, focus on the transferable skills. I know you're probably like, oh, Jess, yes, again, you're talking about these damn transferable skills, but you're allowed to change your path. Like, no longer are the times where you have to stick with one career. Like I said, my father was a sergeant for 30 plus years, and he owned his own painting business since he was like 15. Yeah. That's our parents' generation. And a lot of them, that's what they did. They stayed at the same job. They stayed in the same. We don't have to do that.
Yeah.
There's so much room for innovation. There's so much room for following your passion, and so many resources, especially now. We can see this pandemic as this time where everything is digital and I miss the in-person. Or we could say, oh, wow, that class that I wanted to take in Texas is now available online, and I'm in New York. Fantastic. Let me take those classes now virtually and take advantage of this time. So take those transferable skills and really, really work on them. And don't be afraid to change them and apply them to a different setting. Just like, talking from experience, I was a teacher. I was a teacher in a classroom. I taught 5th grade math, 3rd grade everything, and kindergarten everything. And I took those same skills and applied it to 2 boutique studios in the city for 2 years. And then I applied them here at Peloton.
That's great. I know it can feel scary, like you have to be tied down, or you should be here in X amount of years, but you're a clear example that you can just follow your passion and just do what feels right for you. And I think that's really great advice for anyone out there trying to navigate the career world right now.
Well, so the thing that I learned, and also we're all learning right now with the pandemic, is we have to relinquish control of the timelines that we created in our heads.
Mhm.
I just talked about this the other day about how my AP psychology teacher in high school had us do a collage of where we saw ourselves in 2016. Oh my gosh, I have a picture of my collage still. I was like, married, one kid on the way. This is the job. I was driving a Hummer. I'm like, who? I had a Hummer. Like, who even has one of those nowadays? And I appreciate what she was trying to do. And it's always good to set goals. But I think that the thing that she forgot to mention is that that's a living document. That is something that evolves and changes. And whenever you have that failure, and I say failure in quotation marks, because that's just a redirection.
Yeah.
Okay, you thought you were going here. Okay, actually, let's go here. And you don't understand it in the moment because that failure like stings. It's like, oh my gosh, I was rejected. Like I didn't feel good. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. But that's just redirection. So we can't be afraid of that failure. And so, yeah, like just, yes, like this is so, I'm so passionate about this right now. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely like this whole pandemic really makes you change your mindset and open up to new things.
Well, especially as women too, is a lot of my friends right now, I'm 32. A lot of my friends have kids and a lot of my friends don't have kids. And so there's this option, do we freeze our eggs? Like, can we freeze our eggs? And because as women, we worry about our biological clock, of course, because that obviously has, it has ramifications based off of what we want in our life. But we can't let that scare us into doing things that we're not ready for. It shouldn't scare us into staying in a relationship that we're not happy with simply because we're afraid of being alone or we're afraid of not being able to say we're married. So yeah, it's just relinquishing control, getting out of our own ways. And when you relinquish that control, you start to say, okay, wow, I'm actually settling into who I was meant to be and not someone who I'm forcing myself to be.
Yeah, definitely. That's so valuable. And I think just hearing that you don't have to feel pressure or anything like that is just really good to for like the younger generations to kind of know that too. I think this is our last question, unfortunately, but like you kind of mentioned before, but your mantra is you don't have to, you get to. So can you share what that means to you and what that might mean for your clients as well?
Yes, so that actually started at Trinity. That was so when I was a freshman, it was a senior on our team. And I'm not sure what your coach has you do now, but the coach that we had at the time, we had to do a timed mile and on November 1st. And I'm telling you, girls used to like literally throw up. They were so nervous. They were so sick to their stomachs. And it wasn't just like, oh, all guards have to get this time, all forwards have to do this time. It was, she studied our times from before during the off season and then she chose like a couple seconds off of our personal best, which is a huge mind, you know what, because you're like, oh my gosh, like I busted my ass. I thought that this was going to be, and then she's like, actually, no, I'm going to force you, which was a cool lesson because it's you against you. It wasn't comparing you to anyone else. It was just an internal battle and a method of trying to strengthen, the mental muscles. And so ironically, everyone on the team after 2 times all beat their personal best except for one girl. And the irony here is that she was the fastest on the team.
Oh,
so while we all like, I don't even remember my mile time, but it was definitely something in the 7s. Hers was like 5 something.
wow.
She was the only one that had to repeat the mile. And so we all went as a team to the track, freezing cold in November, to cheer her on. It only took less than 6 minutes. So, and she kept on missing it by like seconds at a time. And so one day she came to the track and in Sharpie on her hand, she wrote, I get to run. And I think she got that from her parent, like her mom or her dad or something at the time. And it was just this thing where when she had to continue to try to beat that time, it felt like a punishment. It felt like, damn, why am I the one that has to do it? Like, poor me, all this stuff. But then she flipped the switch. She flipped the narrative and she was like, actually, I don't have to run. I get to run. And I'm running for people who can. I'm running for people who won't. And I remember being so affected by that clearly. And in class, whenever someone's like, oh, like I don't want to work out, I'm like, you don't have to. You don't. You don't have to. There's a million other things that we could all be doing right now. It's a privilege you get to.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes in handy. And I think that that helps a lot of people make this a lifestyle thing. So a lot of people, especially those who weren't, you know, playing sports and super active as kids, they're like, oh, I'll work out for my wedding, or I'll work out for this goal, this thing that I have coming up.
Yeah.
But that's not long term, and that's not going to make it into your lifestyle. So when you actually get to say, I'm doing it because I can, it's so much better than I'm doing it because I have to.
100%. It's so funny to hear that that's where it started, from testing day. Um, but it's so great to see how it kind of has translated into your career now, and how that has really affected you and followed you throughout your whole career. And I think that's such a great mindset to have, and is really valuable.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come here. It was so nice to get to know you and hear from a past alum that's really kind of been in my shoes, and just to see how far you've come and how great you're doing right now is so inspiring. And I'm just so thankful to have this opportunity.
Oh, same, Liz. I know. Soon, whenever this is all over, I'm gonna come to Trinity and we'll all meet and hug, air hug.
Yes, I can't wait for that day.
Same. And I'm excited to hopefully talk to y'all again in the future, or maybe in the next few weeks.
Yes, everyone's looking forward to it. I know we have a few big fans on the team too, so I know everyone will be excited.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.